Alrighty, so if you haven't been keeping up with most recent competitive TF2 news, Team Fortress TV has a little thread, couple threads actually now, talking about a brand new global-wide whitelist for all the various competitive formats and leagues and all the other stuff. Now, if you don't know what a whitelist is, for those of you that are like totally new, and I understand not everyone's like, into competitive, maybe some of you are trying to get into it and you don't know too much. A whitelist is what weapons are allowed and what weapons are not allowed. Basically, for the longest time, each league kind of had their own specific whitelist of weapons and unlocks that they will allow and won't allow, and they never really like went together. Like some leagues had different whitelists compared to other leagues, and obviously that made some confusion for people and it made it kind of hard. Also, another thing is most of these whitelists were very, very, very strict. They didn't allow for a lot of unlocks to be used, which I understand that. There's a lot of kind of horribly annoying and unbalanced items in this game, which is why, by the way, I don't think Valve should be focusing on adding new weapons. I know everyone, every single time a new update comes out, oh, Valve needs to add new weapons. I'll talk about this probably in a different video, but point is, there's a lot of weapons in this game that are very broken, very busted, very unfun to play against, and luckily for us, the new whitelist is a lot more lenient, but there are some, concerns that people have had. The first iteration of this whitelist actually had the atomizer and the base jumper not banned, which a lot of people were pretty pissed about. There were some other weapons that people were very pissed about, such as the cow mangler, the rescue ranger, the gunslinger. There's quite a few different items that, will piss off a lot of people for good reason, honestly. Like, I don't play much competitive TF2 at all. Like, you guys know this. I'm not claiming to be that guy. I support the scene, though, and I really care about it. So that's why I'm talking about it in this video. That's why I'm bringing this to light, because some of you maybe were turned away from competitive TF2 because of how strict the whitelists are. Well, now 6v6 has a global whitelist. I'll go over each item that's been banned. Basically, it's more of a blacklist now instead of a whitelist, because before it was a whitelist because there was so few unlocks that were available to be used. Now it's more of a blacklist that tells you what's banned. So let me get into that right quick. First off, we have the soda popper, the bonk atomic punch, the flying guillotine, the criticola, the Mad Milk, the Atomizer, the Sandman, the Disciplinary Action, Buffalo Steak Sandwich, the Locust Bar, Fist of Steel, Gloves of Running Urgently, Thompson 6000, Short Circuit, Wrangler, Quick Fix, Solemn Vow, Vitasaw, Sydney Sleeper, Darwin's Danger Shield, Base Jumper, Reserve Shooter. There's also a bunch of various cosmetics that you can't use, like the Pyrovision enabling items, noise makers, noise making cosmetics, explosion on death cosmetics, and indefinite duration taunts, because those kind of fuck up gameplay. Some of them can be used like peek around walls. It's really weird shit that will mess up the game. So we try to leave that stuff out, I believe, so that way it doesn't mess up the game, obviously. A lot of these weapons are good for bans. Like, they shouldn't be in this game for sure, at least in a competitive format, until Valve completely fixes them. The soda popper, the atomizer, that combined with the winger, makes for a very, very annoying scout to fight, because you're just jumping around everywhere. A free triple jump, sure, you lose 10 health when you do the triple jump, but you lose 10 health instead of losing 100 health from a rocket. Like, that's how impactful the atomizer is. That was one that was previously allowed in the past iteration of the global whitelist they had, which was a couple days ago, and then everyone was like, no, don't leave that in, please, that's awful, please remove it. So once they removed it, people were a little bit happier. Again, there's still a bunch of items that people don't think should be in the game still that are allowed in this iteration, so this whitelist is subject to change, of course. But overall, I believe the reason why they did this was, one, to get every single league on the same page, which is good, and two, to show Valve that we're trying to give them data. We're trying to play with more unlocks and show them, hey, this is what's wrong with this weapon and this weapon and this weapon. We're completely banning these weapons because they need an entire rework. They're not good. They're not good for competitive play. They don't fit in the meta. They just ruin everything. Please fix them. Change them entirely. You know what I mean? And I think that's a really good thing to see from the competitive community, because ultimately Valve is hard to work with for TF2, as we've all seen, and hopefully this will be the push that, you know, will make them see that, you know, we're trying to, you know, meet them in the middle. We're trying to compromise, you know, stuff like that. We're not just saying, oh, these weapons are annoying, we can't play against them. Instead, we're making a list of items that are totally broken, totally busted, totally not good to play with, and we're not putting those in because they're bad and they need to be reworked. You know, so the annoying items, I believe they're still going to try and play with. Now, of course, like I said, they don't like the Cow Mangler because it is somewhat of a direct upgrade to the regular rocket launcher, and that alt fire proves to be a disgustingly efficient choke point spam. You know, you just blasted a choke point, all of a sudden, you know, huge damage and DOT. That's pretty bad. And of course, no ammo, which takes a huge amount of skill out of the game because ammo conservation is huge for TF2. And of course, the projectiles are also pretty fucking weird, which, you know, doesn't help because it's harder to see them, harder to do things against them, harder to avoid them. And then the Rescue Ranger is one I've seen a lot of people pissed about too, which makes sense. It makes last holds extremely difficult to push through, you know. And of course, this is what I've heard. I have not, you know, been through this myself. I can only say what, you know, others in this thread have said. But from what I've seen, the Rescue Ranger makes the last holds a lot more stalemated than they already even are. You know, last holds in general are pretty hard to push through. But with a sentry gun that will be up that you can just keep healing from a distance until it goes down, and you can just, you know, switch class, that's pretty fucking busted, honestly. Like, maybe these changes aren't, or maybe these weapons aren't actually as bad as people think they are. But I tend to side with the people that have been playing this game for years and years and years over people that are looking at it from a pub perspective. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, Rescue Ranger isn't busted in pubs, but we're not talking about pubs. We're talking about 6v6, you know, ranked. You know, we're talking about 6v6 competitive. Not just ranked, but, you know, competitive as a whole. You know, UGC, ESEA, Oz Fortress, everything else, you know, ETF2L. There's a lot of different leagues that, you know, are going to be impacted by this, and hopefully with this whitelist, we can see changes happen to weapons that need it, and not just random changes to these various weapons that we've been seeing. Because a lot of these weapons that we've been seeing getting changes to, a lot of these changes have been kind of random and some just not good. So hopefully, you know, that'll fix it and, you know, give Valve a better sample size, a better pool of results to, you know, work with. But anyways, that's all I want to talk about. Again, whitelist is most likely subject to change. It could always be changed in the future. This is what we've got right now. I'm not a part of this at all. I didn't, you know, talk about like anything with these people. I'm not involved. I'm just simply reporting on it so that way you guys can know about it. Maybe it'll get you guys into competitive now that's, you know, maybe your favorite unlock will be unbanned. I know that Uncle Dane said that he's considering actually getting in the 6s because there's finally good unlocks for NG. Obviously, if the Rescue Ranger gets banned again, that may not be the case, but Gunslinger is always, you know, nice. So, you know, maybe he'll actually get in a 6v6. That'd be pretty cool to see, you know, a 6v6 NG. But regardless, thank you all for watching. Please check out the competitive community. They need it right now more than anything. I love you, as always. GG. Peace the fuck out.